March 2020. I remember it clearly. We went into lockdown. Lockdown for those who were stuck at home with abusive partners will know it was hell. Women, men and children all suffered at the hands of lockdown. As the off-licence was still open, takeaways and food shops for essential items, the psychopath was in heaven. He could sit all day in bed, scrolling through porn sites and dating apps, Facebook the lot, while once again going on a health kick. It didn't last long, longer than normal. It must have been around about a week and a half before we ordered alcohol from the shops. And to be fair, at first I did not see much of him, as he was in the garage lifting weights. He had met someone online and he was chatting to her. They always have a new supply. They cannot be faithful at all. So while I thought things had eased off, he was already planning his next victim, having met her on an online dating app, Badoo. I later also found out he was on sex sites, swingers and a local dogging site, using photos of himself in my home and the surrounding grounds, full naked frontal pictures of himself that he put online. But due to lockdown, the psychopath couldn't hook up with his new playmates. The psychopath was constantly accusing me of cheating while he was cheating on me the whole time. Due to not being able to go to the pub or town, he was not able to meet his new little hookup. He was then frustrated and took it out on me. The attack that came next was one of pure hatred. His eyes were black and had spittle in the corner of his mouth. He came in from the garage and I just saw him look at me, and he started with the foul language as usual, and then the slap and the grab of the neck. He loved that. He loved to choke me. He got a real kick out of it. He started screaming like a lunatic and having a full-blown tantrum. He was ranting like a madman, then started having a full-blown argument with himself. He threw the empty bottle of Jack Daniels at me and said he was going to kill me. He continued to scream and shout and went off to the kitchen, looking to see where I'd hid any alcohol, all the while continuing with his threats. I saw this as an opportunity to flee, so I got the dogs and got in the car. I was so scared I didn't know what to do or where to go. I just drove and parked up by the lake down the road. I don't remember much, just that the adrenaline was going and I knew I had to leave this area. It was just too rural. My nearest neighbour was not that far, but also not that close by. I just knew that being so rural made me even more vulnerable. He had completely trashed the garage and the house. Deep down, I knew I would have to take him with me. I knew I had to do something and not be somewhere so remote. After calming myself down and cleaning myself up, I continued to drive. I was on autopilot and didn't realise I'd crossed the border. I was stopped by the PSNI and told to go home. I explained that I had fled, but I was still told to go home. I was not meant to be out. I could not believe what I had just heard. I turned my car around and drove slowly back. I slept in the car that night at the bottom of the driveway and decided that the police were useless. I come from a background of not trusting the police. The true fact is, it takes a woman or a man 7 attempts to leave an abusive relationship, and the most dangerous time is when you try to leave. I actually started to believe this is how I was going to die. Death by strangulation. Due to Psychopath being a violent drunk bully, he'd got into trouble more times than I can remember. But he was struggling being in the Republic as he couldn't sign on for benefits and lived off of me. And I knew I had to move to somewhere across the border into the north. The psychopath wanted to move more rural, wanted to grow weed and bum about and breed dogs. He had played the system back in Liverpool, and when he moaned he couldn't afford anywhere in the Republic or sign on, I suggested a move across the border into the north. I told him he could claim benefits there, and suddenly he was happy to move. I started to look at houses in the closest bordering town in the north, and that was County Fermanagh. Even though it was locked down, I found somewhere. I gave notice, and just as lockdown started to ease, it was time for us to move. Due to the ease of lockdown, he still had to deal with the drunken issues at the police station and had to go in to answer some questions. I thought due to this, he may have behaved for a while, but no, I got the blame for it. I got a slap for him for being picked up by the police. I got a punch as we were in lockdown. He would love to just walk past me and punch me on the side of the head for no reason. He started to order stuff online. Little did I know he had taken a catalogue out in my name. I was not allowed to get the mail, as the mail, was delivered by a postman, and he was a man, and I couldn't be trusted. He had ordered himself a new tracksuit and trainers, brought his sister a pair of trainers and sent them over, telling his family he was breeding dogs and doing well for himself. He even ordered himself some height wedges for his trainers, as I made him feel less manly. I was 5'9" and he was 5'8.5". But me being slightly taller than him made him feel less masculine. And again, he was constantly telling me he was the man of the house, blah, 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 blah. It was just so repetitive. On his WhatsApp and Facebook, he had a picture of me and him. It was so important for him to portray this loving, caring man to his family. Portraying this I've done well image to his family was an obsession. It was because they knew he was a loser who was in and out of prison, but he still kept up this facade. As soon as restrictions started to ease, I took him to the police station to answer the questions about his previous fight he had. On the way home and on the way there, it was just relentless. The abuse was just awful. He started again about it was my fault, I was a shit girlfriend, and he only drank as I made his life a misery. I had a bad feeling that day, and he attacked me on the way to the police station. I remember stopping the car and getting out and running. I don't know where to, but I rang a friend back home. She never answered. I left a blubbering voicemail on her phone. He caught up with me, smashed my phone and spat in my face, losing it with me as he was going to be late for his police interview. I walked back to the car and like an idiot, I drove him. He did not stop with the verbal abuse all the way there and again on the way home, ranting about how I was eyeing up the police in the station, even though I was parked in the car away from the police station. That night he was relentless and kept goading me and goading me. There were boxes everywhere in the new house, and he just kept shouting, "You've brought me here, now I'm stuck here with you." He told me to go to the bedroom. I said no. He got in my face and put his hands around my neck and pushed me into the bedroom. I did not want to have sex with him, but he spat in my face and forced me. He said it wasn't wrong, as he owned me, and I was lucky, as he was a catch and he could do better, but I couldn't. He had assaulted me physically, sexually, mentally and emotionally, but the sexual assaults got me the most. It was all about power. He would love to strangle and choke me, and he would constantly keep telling me about how he'd kill for £200 and would do it easily again, and how a family member who I knew had helped him clean up by washing his clothes and getting rid of his trainers. He actually asked me if he should feel bad about it, as he didn't. He was constantly saying how he thought of other women when he was assaulting me. One night I woke up to him masturbating over me. He just stood there telling me he was horny, but I did nothing for him, so he had to sort himself out. This was to be the last time he sexually assaulted me. He had not bathed in a day or two. He smelt of sweat and I nearly gagged. Previous times I had just laid there and took it, but this time something went click in my head. You never think it's an assault as you're in a relationship, and who's going to believe you that your partner is sexually assaulting you? But everybody has the right to say no. And just because it's not always violent does not mean it's not rape. People assume rape has to be violent. I remember a friend of mine saying, but no, it's not, because it wasn't violent. There's this idea about rape that it must be violent to be rape, but that is so very untrue. The deepest bruises are never on the outside. Those ones heal, and fairly quickly. Just because you can't see the physical evidence of the pain you feel, that doesn't make it any less real. You feel violated because you were, not just because your body, but your trust also, your sense of safety, your belief in the love you thought someone close to you was feeling when they looked at you. You probably always be at least a little afraid now, especially in any future vulnerable or intimate situations. They did that to you. You told them no, and they didn't care. They stole something precious, a gift that is yours to give, not theirs to take. Sex can be casual, it can be loving, it can be rough or sensual or kinky as hell. But what it must be, always, above all, is your decision. Anyone who doesn't get that is someone to be very, very scared of. And my heart breaks and hurts for anyone else who has had this happen to them. But I will ask and beg that you listen to me, and please get yourself away from anyone who does this. Myself and you deserve to be safe. We all deserve better. And this is not just in reference to the sexual assault, but all kinds of assault and abuse. I actually looked at him and saw a smelly, sad excuse for a man who actually repulsed me. As much as I may have repulsed him, he actually repulsed me. Something had to give, and I wanted my life back. I actually realised at that moment that he was a loser who was ill. He mentioned another woman he had been chatting to, comparing her to me. And out of nowhere, I said, well, fucking go to her then. His green eyes just switched to black, and the beating started. I managed to get away and lock myself in the bathroom. He kicked the door in and continued the attack. We hadn't even been in the new house that long, and already he had done so much damage. As he continued to attack me, I finally fought back. Something in me snapped. I'm not sure if I wanted him to kill me or I just finally had enough, but that fire in my belly had awakened and I was in survival mode. And either way, I knew I had to fight. The minute I started to fight back, I think he was so shocked that he kind of just stopped. He was just looking at me. It was so weird. The air was thick. My ears were ringing. And I actually thought that he wasn't going to hurt me again. But he did. He came in on me even harder, as if to say, how fucking dare you try and fight back. He left me slumped on the bathroom floor and tried to trash the house. This time I did call the police after vowing I wouldn't. I had to. I knew if I didn't, he would kill me. He ran and hid like a coward in the field. About 4 police cars turned up and they managed to find him and took him away. A lovely police officer who sat with me advised me to get an injunction out on him. She explained that he would be bailed and I would be at risk of another attack. She actually thought he had broken my jaw. He hadn't. I never reported any of the rapes or any of the other assaults. I felt ashamed and like it was my fault. I had allowed him to abuse me, so I kept quiet. I never actually told anyone about the rapes and the other attacks until a few months later, when I met a lovely woman at Women's Aid and it all came flooding out. She helped me get a solicitor and a non-molestation order was put in place. The non-molestation order didn't work. He was released on bail to a bail hostel and I was bombarded with emails and text messages. I reported it to my solicitor, who advised me to keep a record of everything and report it to the police. After a few days of being vile, he started to be nice. He even had the cheek to ask me to drop the charges. He even denied the attacks, blaming me. This is just one of the examples of an email that he had sent me. This was sent on the 9th of November 2020. I've actually got rid of a lot of them, but this is the one that I'd sent to the police, so I'll read it out. You just sound bitter. What's the point in causing more pain? I'm different now. That depressed, drunk version of me isn't what I am today. I haven't felt or looked this good in my life. My confidence and happiness is high. All I do is train and work. There is no point in going to court either. It will come out that all I done was slap you. You attacked me twice that day. I can't be bothered going into it now, but my whole defence is seamless and it's true. Worst case scenario based on truth, not the allegations, that will fall apart quickly, is a tag. It's common assault in self-defence. You even accidentally tripped yourself up in the statement. Where did my bloody mouth come from? Every layer of it is silly. I am not a danger to children, and because I like sex, I'm a deviant. Ha 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 ha. Next joke. When I continued to ignore him, the death threats came. He kept reminding me he'd killed and would come and slash me open in my sleep, threatened to burn the house down with me in it. I had panic alarms fitted in my new home as I was deemed high risk. He was rearrested. He did not care. No regards to the law. I had repeated death threats and constantly saying he's going to come and cut me up. He broke the non-molestation order so many times. So it was recorded from the 1st of October 2020 to the 9th of November 2020. He constantly broke the non-molestation order. But it actually says on the dates between the 30th day of September 2020 and the 10th day of November 2020, a non-molestation order was made under the Family Homes and Domestic Violence of Northern Ireland Order 1998. It was recorded for the purpose of causing annoyance, inconvenience and needless anxiety to me via emails and text messages. And dates between the 5th of October and the 9th of October, he had contacted and asked me to retract a statement which he was trying to intimidate me and intended to intimidate me. So what is a non-molestation order? A non-molestation order prohibits a person from molesting, harassing another person or a child. The power to make an order is contained in Section 42 of the Family Law Act 1996, and my molestation order was reviewed monthly after that. So finally things have started to settle down for me, and due to him being the narcissist that he is, finally court day had arrived and he had pleaded not guilty, so I would have to give evidence.